Now today we will be starting the third kingdom of the five kingdom system given by Vitako, and that is kingdom fungi. Okay, name itself kingdom fungi. So what do you know about fungi? Like कहाँ पे देखा है तुम लोगों ने फंगस को?
रेनी सीजन।
ओके, रेनी सीजन में कहाँ पे? कुछ देखा रहेगा ना कि ओके वॉल पे या फिर पेड़ पे,
वॉल पे मेनली आता है मैम सर, वॉल पे आता है ज्यादातर ग्रीन कलर का।
Yeah, so that is one type of fungus जो वॉल पे आता है, मॉइस्चर आता है, तो मॉइस्चर जहाँ पे भी रहेगा वहाँ पे फंगस आता है। सिंपल अगर एग्जांपल देना चाहूँ तो अगर कभी गलती से टिफिन में चपाती रह जाएगा और सैटरडे संडे होगा, तुम लोग टिफिन निकालना भूल गए, लाइक इट्स वेरी अनहाइजीनिक बट ओके समटाइम इट इज पॉसिबल राइट। सो मंडे को देखोगे तो शायद उस पर पूरा फंगस आ जाएगा। सेम फॉर ब्रेड, अगर कभी गलती से ब्रेड फ्रिज में ना रख के बाहर रख दिया और इट्स मॉइस्चर लाइक थोड़ा रेनी सीजन है या फिर विंटर है, सो बिकॉज ऑफ मॉइस्चर द ब्रेड विल शो फंगल ग्रोथ एंड दैट ऑल दिस थिंग्स, ये फंगस इज लाइक एवरीवेयर मतलब जस्ट इसको थोड़ा सा मॉइस्चर चाहिए और खाने के लिए कुछ प्रोवाइड किया तो इट कैन ग्रो एनीवेयर, and that's why we generally say it's kind of omnipresent. जैसे कि बैक्टीरिया थे ऐसे फंगस भी omnipresent है, but why do you think कि फंगस क्यों omnipresent हो सकता है? क्या ऐसा स्पेशल कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स होगा फंगस के पास कि वो कहीं पे भी इजीली ग्रो हो सकता है? एनी आइडिया? जैसे अभी तुमने ही बताया कि वॉल पे आता है, तो जो ग्रीन कलर का वॉल पे आता है, तुमने जब उसको थोड़ा क्लोजली नोटिस किया है, ऑब्जर्व किया है, क्या दिखता है तुम्हें वहां पे?
वाटर।
वाटर तो वॉल पे रहेगा राइट, वो तो मॉइस्चर देगा, बट फंगस का क्या ऐसे स्पेशल फीचर्स है कि वो कहीं पे भी इजीली ग्रो हो जाते हैं?
स्पोर फॉर्मेशन।
Yeah, spore formation. That is one of the very important point about this fungus disease. They can form spores. Okay, and we all know spores मतलब ऐसा नहीं है कि spores is kind of a dormant stage of a life. जब भी unfavorable condition रहता है spores रहता है, और जैसे ही favorable condition आता है spores will start sporulating and you will get a new growth from that particular cell. Okay, so same thing. That is the one important characteristic feature of fungus which makes it difficult to handle. मतलब तुमने अभी ओके घर में आया एक वॉल पे, यू क्लीनड इट अप, तुमने पूरा ये कर दिया मॉइस्चर वगैरह, बट अगर थोड़ा सा भी अगर स्पोर्स वहां पे रहेगा, after few days again you will see there is a starting of again the growth of the fungus will start, because the spores will again start sporulating the moment they get moisture and the other kind of good conditions. So that is the one thing, and that's why fungal growth and fungal infection is kind of difficult to handle. One more thing, like just as these spores are like present everywhere and they are kind of not good to human health, so they actually can cause different diseases in human health. So wherever you see the fungal growth हो रहा है बहुत ज़्यादा ऐसे, तो make sure that you will be not going very close to that fungal growth. अगर अभी जा भी रहे हो तो make sure तुमने अपना मुंह and like nose and mouth is covered up with a cloth or something, because if it get inhaled it may also like different respiratory problems. Okay, so you should take care whenever you see fungal growth यहाँ पे, मतलब कहीं भी अगर fungal growth दिख जाए, so you should be very much careful. Okay, so before starting the exact part of kingdom fungi, so if you are having any doubt with the Monera and the Protista group or kingdom, please let me know. If no, then I will continue. Okay, so I think there are no doubts, so we'll continue. Okay, so let's start with the kingdom fungi again. Then, so as you all know, from kingdom fungi, like it is a more advanced level of eukaryotic cells, because prokaryotes are mostly single cell organisms, but when it comes to fungi, they are not more advanced than that of the prokaryotic cells. So these are the eukaryotic heterotrophs. Okay, fungus are mostly heterotrophic in nature, and they shows extracellular digestion. Now you will say what is extracellular digestion and how it happens. So if you have observed, जिसकी वॉल पे ग्रो हो रहा है, पेड़ पे ग्रो हो रहा है, कहीं पे भी, मतलब देखिए इवन अ पॉलीमरिक सिस्टम, लाइक वॉल इज लाइक कलर है, कलर के ऊपर क्यों ग्रो हो रहा है, वहां पर कुछ खाना दे नहीं रहे हम लोग. पेड़ इज लाइक काइंड ऑफ पॉलीमरिक सब्सटेंस, सेलुलोज है, उसके ऊपर जैसे ग्रो हो रहा है. सो दिस फंगस, दे आर हैविंग अ वेरी, another characteristic feature of this fungus is they can produce extracellular enzymes. So now what are enzymes?
Biocatalyst.
Yeah, so it is something that will catalyze the reaction, okay, and break down the substrate into a simple one. So this fungal, like whatever different fungal species are there, they actually have ability to produce different enzymes. Okay, and this, because of this enzyme, whenever they are growing on a polymeric substance, they will make sure that they will have an enzyme that is actually breaking down the polymeric substance, which is giving them a food, मतलब उनको simple food दे रहा है that can help them to survive. So अगर मुझे ऐसा फंगस चाहिए that is actually having ability to produce cellulase, so I will go and find the fungus which is actually growing on a cellulose, because अगर वो cellulose पे grow हो रहा है, definitely it is having an ability to produce an enzyme that is cellulase. तब भी तो वो जी पाएगा. अगर वो cellulose को break down नहीं कर पाया ग्लूकोज में, तो वो नहीं जी पाएगा. And that is why the word extracellular is there, because it actually releases the enzyme outside. फिर वो enzymes break down करता है, and then whatever products are obtained after breaking down, that are then utilized by the fungus. Okay, so that's why they have mentioned the term extracellular digestion. They are found in both warm and humid places. So जैसे कि हमने बोला, एक तो जैसे तुम लोगों ने अभी मेंशन किया कि जहाँ भी मॉइस्चर रहता है, रेनी सीजन में बहुत कॉमनली देखा जाता है. But there are multiple different types of fungus which are also found in a warm region. Like they do not require moisture as such. But अगर normal भी रहेगा तो भी they can survive. Okay, and if you see structure wise, so they can be unicellular. Okay, मतलब single cell रहेगा. An example of the unicellular fungus is yeast. Okay, the simplest fungus, yeast, yeast. I think all of you have heard about yeast. Okay, so it can be unicellular or it can be made up of this long threads like structure, and this long thread like structure, branching we can call it. Okay, it's called as a hyphae. So the fungus can be unicellular or it can be with hyphae. Okay, there are multiple different. तुमने देखा एक टाइप तो जिसने खुद बताया कि वॉल पे ग्रो होता है, but you will also find the fungus like जो mushrooms, सब लोग ने तो खाया ही रहेगा, मतलब people are very much fond of mushroom. So like mushroom rice, mushroom ये, mushroom वो, soup and all whatever. But these mushrooms are nothing but a fungus. Okay, and it is actually now people have started cultivating mushrooms commercially. एकदम प्रोफेशनल ट्रेनिंग लेके now many farmers are coming forward with such kind of technology. Okay, but all this is actually nothing but a fungus, and this is actually an edible fungus. Okay, so this is one of the another side of the kingdom of fungi. Not all are harmful, not all are causing some kind of disease, but there are also some fungus which are actually good to the health. So if you see mushroom का nutritious value इतना अच्छा है, मतलब it contains different vitamins, contains different growth in promoting factors and all. So it is actually a good supplementary material. Okay, and as I mentioned कि single cellular organisms भी होते हैं. Okay, which is having actually protoplast with many nuclei. Now, what is protoplast? Anyone? Even I think बताया था in cell structure में. So, what is protoplast? Yeah, what is protoplast? ढूंढो, अभी तो मैं पक्का नहीं बताऊंगा. Okay, so note it down. What is protoplast? Noted? Yes, no? Hello? सब लोग ने लिखा क्या? What is protoplast?
Yes.
So that is what I'm asking, right? Yes or no बताओ. Because इसका आंसर तो मैंने देने वाला. It is very simple and I think तुम लोग को याद नहीं है, but you should keep it in mind कि क्या है उसका मतलब. Okay, it is something related to cell. इतना I can tell you as a hint. अभी बाकी क्या तुम लोग cell and cell wall. Okay, so definitely you should know. ठीक है, तो अभी नहीं, कल पढ़ के आओ, थोड़ा पढ़ोगे तो अच्छा लगेगा. And then we always have seen different compositions of the cell wall. So in case of Monera, what was the composition of cell wall? In case of Monera kingdom,
Peptidoglycan.
yeah. So which group is actually showing peptidoglycan the cell wall? There are two groups like Archaebacteria and Eubacteria.
Eubacteria.
Yeah. And what is the cell wall material of Euglena? Euglena को cell wall होता है या नहीं होता है?
नहीं होता.
So what is there in case of Euglena? क्या वजन होता है?
Cell wall.
Cell wall नहीं होता है, but तुमने अभी तो बोला.
Cell wall नहीं.
हाँ, तो क्या कुछ तो होता है ना. It's not like कि वो ऐसा ही खुला है उसका side. That is something special जो मैंने बताया भी था कि please note it down carefully. It is one of the very important point.
Proteinous pellicle.
Yeah. So Euglena contain proteinaceous pellicle. And now again we are coming back to kingdom fungi. जहाँ पे cell wall is composed of chitin. Okay, so this is again an important 1 mark question MCQ. कुछ भी ले सकते हो. The cell wall of a fungi is made up of chitin or composed of chitin. Chitin क्या है? Chitin is a polysaccharide.
Nitrogenous polysaccharide.
Yeah. Okay, इसको हम लोग also call as fungus cellulose. और इसका जो why it is nitrogenous polysaccharide, because it is made up of a component or a monomer called as N-acetyl glucosamine. So N रहता है, that's why it is called as nitrogenous polysaccharide. Okay, and there are multiple examples you will find about this particular fungi को तो इतना कुछ से मतलब बहुत ज्यादा. And few examples of this one: Rhizopus, Saccharomyces. Okay, so you will see. So as I mentioned, they are unicellular, or they can be filamentous, or they can be mushroom-like. So this is just to show you when I say unicellular fungus, what do I exactly mean by it? So this is the first image actually shows unicellular fungus. Then when I say filamentous with the hyphae and all, so see यहाँ पे growth भी तो लग रहा है. You can see multiple branching. It's like growth-like structure, right? So this is called as filamentous fungus. And in case of mushrooms, you know how the mushrooms look like, right? There is a kind of stalk-like structure, उसके ऊपर umbrella-like head. So these are the three main structures which generally we find in kingdom fungus. Okay. Now, unicellular तो हम लोग को पता चल गया कि it is eastern or then there is contains the filamentous fungi which consist of a body called as mycelium. Okay, so तुमने जो अभी just देखा इमेज में ये central image, so this typical thread like structure जो रहता है ना उसको हम लोग mycelium बोलते हैं और ये mycelium का अगर branching रहता है so we actually call it as a hyphae. Okay, so this hyphae जो रहते हैं ना इसके body मतलब fungi के body में they can be of two types. It can be with septa or without septa. Now septa is something that can septa or septum. तुम लोगों ने अगर पहले कभी सुना करेगा ये septa or septum मतलब something that divides जो separate करता है. Okay, so this septa or separate this septa thing is actually the one जो hyphae को different small parts में divide करता है. So you can see यहाँ पे in this diagram, this is a filamentous fungus का typical एक diagrammatic representation. So when I say with septa, you can see यहाँ पे ये hyphae है और यहाँ पे partition है, हर एक different compartment like है और हर एक में एक small black spot you will find, which is a nucleus. Okay, so this is a typical hyphae with the septa. But if you see without septa case, यहाँ पे बीच वाला partition is not present. It's like completely one system. वहाँ पे multiple nucleus you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, but there is no separation as such. Okay, so that is why we call it as a without septa. Okay, and since it is so यहाँ पे in case of with septa you can say okay each compartment is having nucleus, so it can be uninuclear. But in this case without septa case, as multiple nucleus are present, we call it as a multinucleate. Okay. And such type of hyphae which are actually non-septate multinucleate are called as cynocytic hyphae. Okay, I repeat, the hyphae which are non-septate and having multiple nucleus are called as cynocytic hyphae. समझा? And then there are other types which I already have discussed. Is like जहाँ पे you can see the small cells, circular cells. Okay, and उसी का थोड़ा modified version is the pseudomycelium, but now we do not need to go into details about blastospore or stomycelium. I just wanted to tell you the difference between the septa and without septa. तुम लोगों को समझा? This is only with respect to the filamentous fungi. Is it clear? Is it clear? Is it not clear? What?
सर रिपीट करो.
So मैंने बोला कि फंगस का जो स्ट्रक्चर है that can be unicellular or a multicellular, right? So when I talk about the multicellular, like not multicellular, but more unicellular or filamentous, this is a more correct words. Okay, so the fungus can be unicellular, जहाँ पे सिर्फ single cells रहेगा separate cell, or it can be a filamentous, जहाँ पे एक network like structure रहता है, thread like structure बहुत रहता है, and the thread like structure also shows a branching called as hypha. तो ये जो उनका जो typical filamentous structure होता है body का, which is called as mycelium. So small thread like structure you will find there. Okay, and this thread like structure is called as mycelium. Now मैंने जैसे कि बोला कि यहाँ पे अगर branching रहेगा mycelium का, it is called as hypha. So this hyphae of a particular fungus may be of two types. Okay, so it can be with septa or without septa. Now what is septa? Septa is kind of septa मतलब singularly we call it as septum, मतलब separation. Okay, so let's say this is a one thread like structure. You can see this diagram. All of you can see this diagram, right? So this is one thread like structure. यहाँ पे उसको branching वगैरह है. Now when we say with septa, you can see यहाँ पे compartments है 1, 2, 3. यहाँ पे again 1, 2, 3, 4, and each compartment contains a small dot. The small dot represents the nucleus. So such structure जहाँ पे हम लोग का जो hypha है, that is actually having the compartment or we can say separation from each other is called as filamentous fungi having the हाइफे विद सेप्टा. बट अगर तुम्हारे फिलामेंटस फंगी का जो सेप्टा फंगस जो है उसमें अगर सेप्टा प्रेजेंट नहीं है, इट मींस इट इज विदाउट सेप्टा. तो यू कैन सी इन अ सेकंड केस जहां पे जिस बीच बीच वाला जो लाइंस है वो गायब हो गया है, यहाँ पे देयर इज नो बिग वन, एंड दैट्स व्हाई यू कैन सी द डॉट्स 1 2 3 ऐसे सब फ्रीली यहाँ पे घूम रहा है. And that is why it is called as considered a single cell, and we call it as a multinucleate, because there is no septa, there is no separation present in this type of filamentous fungus. Okay, and such type of fungus which contains a non-septate multinucleate hyphae. Non-septate मतलब there is no separation. Multinucleate मतलब there are multiple nucleus present and multiple nucleus present in a hyphae. Such kind of fungus are called as the fungus with the sinusitic hyphae, and such kind of hyphae is called as a sinusitic hyphae. Clear? So you have to, you need to
Yes,
keep
sir.
3 points in the mind. पहली बात तो there are two major types. There are three major types. Okay, it can be unicellular, it can be filamentous, or it can be mushroom-like. Okay. So now unicellular तो ठीक है, small cells है. Mushroom-like you can see the umbrella-like head and stuff. ठीक है. But जो filamentous है, it is more important because it shows presence of mycelium and hyphae. Okay. अगर मैंने hyphae बोला तो hyphae can be of two types: septa, without septa. And the third point is like if it's without septa, it will be having a multiple nucleus, and that is called as a sinusitic. So the thing point, that's why I try to highlight everything, like each point in on each slide, so that you will get to know कि क्या याद रखना है. I understand कि पूरा का पूरा book तो रट नहीं सकते, पढ़ना पड़ेगा सब कुछ, but then लिखना क्या है वो तुम लोग को पता होना चाहिए. Okay? So that is about the typical structure of a filamentous fungi. Now moving ahead कि उनका different processes कैसे चलता है. So सबसे important one is the nutrition. So we all know fungus are what? Autotrophic or heterotrophic?
Heterotrophic.
Right. So the fungus shows heterotrophic mode of nutrition, and they are mostly saprophytic. What is saprophytic? कल ही बताया था कि मैंने saprophytic.
Dead organisms शायद कुछ होते हैं.
So the one which actually feeds,
Decompose.
yeah, feeds and decompose and feed on a decayed one. Okay, so that is why it is
Decaying
called as
matter.
saprophytic. Okay, and some of the fungus are actually parasitic. It means वो खुद का खाना खुद नहीं बनाते, rather they prefer to be dependent on a host. And predators भी हैं which will look for prey to get their food. So that's what you have to keep in mind. So see, there are multiple. Whenever someone asks you to write a short note on a kingdom fungi, you need to write सबसे पहले कि उसको सेलुलर ऑर्गेनाइजेशन कैसे है, सेल वॉल का important point. Second, third one is about this mycelium thing. Fourth one is like nutrition. Fifth one is like reproduction, and sixth one is about उसका ecological relationship जो मैं अभी बताऊंगा. So you need to be very much smart worker. तो यहाँ पे ऐसा नहीं कि मैंने about hyphae ही आधा पेज लिख दिया, नहीं. You have to be very much smart. अगर तुम्हारा क्वेश्चन 2 मार्क का है तो write maximum 6 point. मतलब 4 इनफ रहते हैं, but 2 for safer side, because in such kind of short notes sometimes we have to be very much precise. Okay, कुछ points important होते हैं वो लिखने ही पड़ते हैं because they contain small. So it's better to go with the safer side. तो तब ये सब पॉइंट्स याद रखना है कि हम लोगों को न्यूट्रिशन के बारे में मेंशन करना ही है, रिप्रो के बारे में मेंशन करना ही है. ओके, सो डोंट बी जस्ट ऐसा ब्लाइंडली थोड़ा सा पढ़ा, 4 लाइन स्टार्टिंग का लिख दिया, पीछे का भूल गया, नहीं. बी अ स्मार्ट लर्नर एंड स्मार्ट राइटर. ओके, एट दिस मोमेंट. और ये खुद को आदत लगाओ so that it will be helpful for you to for your board examinations. Okay, नहीं तो देख लेंगे अभी 1 साल है बाद में होगा, नहीं होता. So starting से ही वो एक बार आदत लग जाएगा, so it will be good for you. Okay, so coming back to the topic, so that was all about nutrition. Now reproduction, again one of the important process of all the living beings, right? रिप्रोडक्शन तो करना पड़ेगा so that they will keep on maintaining their what can I say they can continue their life kind of thing, मतलब वो अपना एक जनरेशन मेंटेन कर सकते हैं हर टाइम पे. Okay, so they can reproduce by both sexually as well as asexual method. Okay, so sexual methods mostly includes gamete formation and all. However, asexual reproduction takes place by fragmentation, fission. So you must have heard about binary fission, multiple fission type things, and the budding. So yeast is the one which actually shows budding, and I hope you will get a chance to observe yeast in a microscope. And sometimes you actually see a small birds coming out from the mother cell, and that's actually awesome. मतलब बहुत मस्त दिखता है जब हम लोग माइक्रोस्कोप में देखते हैं उसको. Okay, so there are these multiple methods used for asexual reproduction. Now coming towards the ecological relationship is another important point. Okay, now what does it? So some fungi are actually symbiotic. Symbiotic matlab they actually form some kind of relationship with some other organism जहाँ पे दोनों को भी फायदा होता है. Okay, मतलब two friends living together every time so that and both of them are helping them each other every time kind of thing. So that is called a symbiotic relationship. ऐसा नहीं कि एक को दूसरा exploit कर रहे हो. It's not like that kind of relationship कि जहाँ पे कोई एक exploit हो रहा है या फिर एक का ही फायदा हो रहा है एक नुकसान हो रहा है. No. In case of symbiotic, both are equally involved and both are equally helping each other. Okay, that's why it is like kind of relationship जहाँ पे दोनों को भी फायदा होता है. So it is a symbiotic relationship. So the fungus shows the symbiotic relationship and it is called as lichens. Okay. What is lichens? Lichens actually includes two components. One is a fungal component. That's what we are trying to tell you. And the second one is the algal component. Okay. So they actually, so the algae is a photosynthetic, so they keep on providing the food to the fungus. In return, the fungus provides minerals and other kind of nutrition to the algae. And as दोनों साथ में रह के, they survive for a longer period. Okay, so that is one example of a symbiotic relationship between the fungus and the algae, and it is known as lichens. I will explain lichens in detail in the next slide. Okay, so don't worry about that. And another kind of symbiotic relationship is mycorrhiza. Anyone? What is mycorrhiza? कभी सुना है कोई ऐसे? What is mycology?
Study of fungus.
Study of fungus is mycology. What is rhiza? Rhizogenesis. So whenever the word rhizogenesis something comes, it is something related to the roots. Okay, so mycorrhiza is actually an association of a fungus with the roots of higher plant. There are two types of mycorrhiza, ectomycorrhiza and endomycorrhiza. The name itself, ecto मतलब जो roots के बाहर से present रहेगा, endo मतलब it will actually form a like अंदर से network बाहर चालू करेगा. Okay, whatever type of network is ecto हो या endo हो, उसका काम है to form association with these roots of a higher plant. So I hope you are able to see this diagram. यहाँ पे so the first one जो तुमको green लग रहा है सबने देखा रहेगा ये से, किसी को पता नहीं रहेगा कि ये क्या है. This is how the lichens look like. Okay, so बारिश में वगैरह या even in any like ऐसा hilly regions में अगर तुम लोग ट्रेकिंग के वगैरह कभी जाते रहोगे तो you must have seen मतलब ऐसे पत्थर पे वगैरह ये बहुत जगह पे दिखेगा, and that is nothing but a lichen which is a symbiotic relationship between the algae and the fungus. Okay, so that's what the first image shows. In the second image, if you see there is this fungus, it's a diagrammatic representation. Okay, pictorial one. So there is a large bigger higher plant, उसके root से, okay, and उसके बाद में fungus grow. Now this fungus will start interacting with the roots of this particular plant, and it will help it with respect to getting the water and the other kind of minerals. In return, the plant will provide kind of food in form of carbohydrate to the fungus so it can survive. Okay, and such kind of relationship is called as symbiotic relationship. तो यहाँ पे fungus का भी फायदा है and this बड़े tree का भी फायदा है. So it is kind of mutual benefits both of them are getting. And this is called as mycorrhiza. Okay. So now I've said just about lichens. दो लाइन मैंने बताया था. I said I will talk about it in detail. So this is actually for you to read, but I will just give you थोड़ा उसका overview कि क्या होता है. Lichens, very important component in nature. Okay, as I mentioned, it is a symbiotic relationship between the algae and the fungi for a mutual benefit. तो दोनों को भी कुछ ना कुछ फायदा होता है. Okay, so there are two components as we know. So जो उसका algal member है उसको हम लोग बोलते हैं phycobiont, and जो उसका फंगल मेंबर है उसको हम लोग बोलते हैं माइक्रोबायंट. तो जो फाइकोबायंट है वो मोस्टली बिलोंग करता है टू साइनोबैक्टीरिया और ग्रीन algae. ओके, आई अंडरस्टैंड तुम लोग का अभी तो किंगडम प्लांट नहीं हुआ है तो शायद तुम लोग को ये साइनोबैक्टीरिया ग्रीन algae इतना familiar terms नहीं रहेगा, but these are just types of algal group, like these are just a type of the algae groups. Okay, so there are multiple types of algae and this is one of those. In case of fungal member, it is called as microbiome. Okay, so why they are having a symbiotic relationship? क्या होता है इन दोनों में? So actually जो algal component है, it again provides food to the fungal part, while the fungus जो component है, it provides shelter to the alga. It also absorbs water and minerals to the alga. तो सेम जैसे हमने देखा माइकोराइजा में, सिमिलर थिंग इज हैपनिंग हियर आल्सो. एक उसको फूड दे रहा है, एक उसको वाटर एंड मिनरल्स प्रोवाइड कर रहा है. ओके, एंड इट इज वेरी इंटेंस काइंड ऑफ रिलेशनशिप. ओके, एंड दैट्स व्हाई व्हेनेवर पीपल सी लाइकेंस दे एक्चुअली डोंट अंडरस्टैंड कि वो algae है या fungus है या it is something else. So it is very intense and it is like it looks like a one single organism. Okay, so that is one kind of symbiotic relationship in case of algae and the fungus. Why it is of importance? I will just follow that it is of very extreme importance in the nature, because first thing, it acts as a pollution indicator. Okay, so mainly air pollution. So they are, whenever there is a air pollution, you will not find any lichens around. Why? That's why मैंने एग्जांपल दिया था कि अगर तुम लोग कहीं ट्रेकिंग पे वगैरह जाओगे तो you will find such kind of things on the rocks and all. Why? Because ट्रेकिंग वगैरह कहाँ पे करते हो? पहाड़ों में जाओगे, हिल स्टेशन जाओगे, राइट? ऐसा कहीं भी मुंबई में नहीं जाओगे जहाँ पे every time there is a pollution. So because this is something very sensitive to the pollution, तो जहाँ भी pollution रहेगा, this lichens will not grow. So that's why they are actually considered as a pollution indicator. Okay, especially indicator of air pollution. Okay, so they also play important role in a soil formation because the weathering of rock करते हैं. So they actually produce some kind of acids which helps in a weathering. So I hope you know what is. So जो rock को हम लोग मतलब you know how soil forms, right? Rock का क्या बोलेंगे उसको breaking हो के मतलब the rock keep on giving out the small particles of soil, and that's how like this is because of the physical process, like naturally wind, rain and all the multiple factors, but even the lichens contribute to this process by producing specific acids. Okay, and you can see there is one example they have given, that is the parmelia. Okay, so this is just to give you a little information about what are lichens and why they are important. Okay, I hope you understood what I just explained about lichens. If you did not understand anything, let me know. Yeah, and in next class we will be having revision. Okay, one thorough revision, because I think तुम लोग थोड़ा lost हो कहीं पे. The response which I used to get earlier वो मेरे को मिल नहीं रहा है. So I don't know. या फिर 7:30 को मॉर्निंग उठ के सोने का मन करता है क्या वापस? कहाँ पे सब लोग? So just to check कितना किसको समझा है, in the next class we will be having a revision. Okay, so be prepared. I hope you all are reading. जितना मैं see every day I am just really trying to cover up only one kingdom, which is hardly half or one page in your book, and I think 24 hours में 10 मिनट तो दे ही सकते हो वो एक पेज पढ़ने के लिए. So do it today again and tomorrow we will see किसको कितना समझा. And I actually want answers from everyone, so I forgot and these tricks of network issues and all वो नहीं चलेगा. Okay, अगर नाम लिया है तो आंसर करना ही पड़ेगा. Okay, I hope I am clear and everyone have heard what I just said. So with this I will continue again. So अब तक हमने क्या देखा कि उसका स्ट्रक्चर क्या है, उसका न्यूट्रिशन मोड क्या है, रिप्रोडक्शन कैसे करता है, सिम्बायोटिक रिलेशनशिप के बारे में देखा. नाउ वी आल्सो नीड टू नो कि इट इज नॉट जस्ट लाइक कि उसका फायदा है ही है, लाइक देयर आर सम फंगस व्हिच आर यूजफुल, जैसे कि मैंने मशरूम्स का बोला था कि दे आर एडिबल एंड हैविंग अ गुड न्यूट्रिशन सप्लीमेंट, बट देयर आर मेनी व्हिच आर हार्मफुल आल्सो. ओके, सो अगर मैं अच्छे मतलब गुड यूजफुल फंगस की बात करूं तो it includes mushroom as I mentioned previously also, and yeast. Yeast is very commonly used for bakeries and breweries. So you will always hear this term baker's yeast, brewer's yeast. Can someone tell me exactly which organism is called as baker's yeast or brewer's yeast? Hello, what is bakery? बेकरी में क्या मिलता है?
yeast product.
Yeah, so basically बेकरी में हम लोग को क्या मिलता है? ब्रेड, पाव, like something which is a kind of fermented one, and जो fermentation करता है that is actually done by this yeast. Okay, fermentation मतलब क्या? CO2. वो क्यों इतना fluffy क्यों रहता है केक या फिर ब्रेड पाव? सॉफ्ट सॉफ्ट रहता है, फ्लफी रहता है, उसमें बहुत सारे स्मॉल स्मॉल स्पंज लाइक क्या small pores रहते हैं. Why it is? Because of the carbon dioxide which is released during the process of fermentation. तो ये सब करता कौन है? It is actually done by the yeast known as baker's yeast in case of bakery. Breweries क्या होता है वैसे? Anyone? What is breweries? बेकरी तो ठीक है जहाँ पे पाव मिलता है, ब्रेड मिलता है, समझ गया. What is breweries? Okay, so beer production. So it is mainly involved in alcoholic like beer production, wine production. So mainly when we talk about breweries, it's mainly a beer production. Okay, so in that case also we require yeast, and that is called a brewer's yeast. So there is this organism known as Saccharomyces cerevisiae. It is a scientific name of yeast, which is called as baker's yeast or brewer's yeast. Okay, please note it down. It is one of the very important questions. I repeat the name of the organism or the yeast. It is known as Saccharomyces cerevisiae. Clear?
Sir, repeat.
Saccharomyces cerevisiae. You will find the name in the next slide somewhere. So don't worry, but just keep in mind. Baker's yeast, brewer's yeast. Okay. Then there is one which is involved in antibiotic production, penicillium. Very important one. The first ever antibiotic found by scientist known as Alexander Fleming. Okay, need people note it down. Alexander Fleming ने सबसे पहला antibiotic कौन सा बनाया था? And that is penicillin, which was obtained from a fungus known as penicillium. And it was an accidental discovery. Anyone? What is accidental discovery?
गलती से.
या गलती से नहीं बोल सकता मैं, मतलब
वो कुछ और ढूंढ रहा था पर कुछ और नहीं।
हाँ, वेरी गुड. सो सच काइंड ऑफ, सो दिस अलेक्जेंडर फ्लेमिंग जो था वो एक बैक्टीरिया पे काम कर रहा था. गलती से एक दिन उसने अपना जो एक्सपेरिमेंटल प्लेट रहता है उसको बाहर रख दिया, अंदर रखना भूल गया था जहाँ पे उसको रखना स्टोर में. जब वो सेकेंड डे आके देखा तो उसमें कुछ और ही ग्रो हो गया था, और जो ग्रो हो गया था उसने उसको बैक्टीरिया को मार दिया था. ही वॉज वेरी मच क्यूरियस कि अरे ये क्या ग्रो हो गया, हो तो गया पर उसने मेरे जो इम्पोर्टेंट बैक्टीरिया था उसमें मार दिया. एंड फ्रॉम दैट इट्स द स्टोरी बिगेन. देन ही स्टार्टेड एक्सट्रैक्टिंग कि वो ये जो ग्रो हुआ है वो क्या है, उसने क्या प्रोड्यूस किया है. That's how the interest got developed and he started discovering and researching about that particular thing जो वहाँ पे grow हुआ था. And he found that it is a penicillium. It produces a particular compound which can inhibit the growth of the gram-positive organisms. Okay, which actually have a thick layer of peptidoglycan. The penicillin is actually the one antibiotic which inhibits the cell wall synthesis, and that's how it kills the growth of, it kills the bacteria or inhibit its growth. Okay, so that these are all applications of fungus कि वो मशरूम में खा, मशरूम के फॉर्म में खा सकते हैं, ईस्ट है, पेनिसिलिन है, and there are multiple other applications. However, as I always say, there are always two sides to the coin. तो एक साइड अच्छा है तो एक साइड उसका बुरा भी है. That there are many harmful fungus or fungi which are actually causing disease in plants, in animals, many things. Okay, and that is one of the difficult things. So अगर fungal infection हो गया, it's not like वो treatable नहीं है और curable नहीं. It is. You can always treat it, but it takes time. Okay, so that's why it's always better to take care and always be very cautious and take all the possible precautions whenever you are dealing with the fungus. Okay, because it's not that easy to handle too. Okay, one of the example of the fungus is Fuchsinia. Fuchsinia is a fungus that actually causes, so ये सबने देखा रहेगा, मतलब plants पे ऐसा कभी-कभी दिखता है, rust like मतलब ऐसा orange red color का things. That is nothing but the Fuchsinia graminis, which is a fungus, and it causes the disease called as stem rust. So you can see यहाँ पे diagram, this looks like a rust, right? But this is like a fungus. It's actually a fungus. That's why the disease is called as stem rust. Okay, so it is caused by the fungus known as Fuchsinia graminis. Okay, now that's all about the basic introduction about fungus. वो क्या है, कैसे है, types क्या है, sorry, वो क्या है, कैसे useful applications क्या है, harmful problems क्या है, and everything. Now we are moving towards the important part की classification. जैसे कि मैंने हमेशा बोला है कि there is a like large number of fungi. It's not like एक दो है और उसको easily हम लोग study करेंगे, मतलब बहुत abundance है. So that's why it is important to classify this fungi. So initially these were very confused. So किसके basis पे classify करें? जैसे कि हमने देखा था in case of Protista, the classification was based on the locomotory organ. In case of Monera, the classification was based on what? In case of Monera, what was the basis of classification? On what basis do we classify them as Eubacteria and Archaebacteria?
Peptidoglycan.
So mainly we can see cell wall composition. Okay, so similar in a way here also in case of fungi, the classification is based on three factors, which includes the structure, like whether it's unicellular, filamentous, or mushroom type, its mode of spore formation, okay, all, and then what kind of fruiting bodies it forms. Okay, so based on these three factors, there are four types of fungus known as Psychomycetes, Ascomycetes, Mesodiomyces, and Deuteromyces. Okay, I repeat, there are four types of fungus: Psychomycetes, Ascomycetes, Mesodiomyces, and Deuteromyces. Now, what is Psychomycetes? Okay, Psychomycetes are the fungus which actually behaves like a algae. That's why they are called as the algal fungi. Okay, so in this case, the mycelium is made up of accepted syncytic hyphae. Okay, and they mostly grow on a braid or like any normal जहाँ पे तुम लोग फंगस देखते हो घर में वगैरह, like bread पे चपाती पे even like normal kitchen waste वगैरह पे, that is mostly of Psychomycetes. So okay, this is a typical example how the fungus grows on a bread, and it is a typical diagrammatic representation of a mucor, which is one of the example of Psychomycetes. So you can see, मतलब even this bread is growing like this. यहाँ पे लोगों को दिख नहीं रहा है, but अगर तुम लोग उसको माइक्रोस्कोपिकली देखोगे, you will find such structure. Okay, so there is a hypha सबसे नीचे, उसके ऊपर there is a sporangiophore, sporangium, यहाँ से spores निकलेंगे, it can keep on growing and growing and growing. Okay, so this kind of fungus is actually generally grows in a moist and a damp habitat, and as they generally feed on decaying organic matter, sometimes they are also present in aquatic habitats, and as they are mostly heterotrophic, they also behaves as a parasites on plants. Okay, their job is to just get food, फिर वो decay करके लेना है, parasitic way में लेना है, that is a secondary thing. Food चाहिए वो important, grow करना है वो important, spores produce करना है वो उससे भी ज़्यादा important. That's one important thing. Like that's not the fungus. That's how the fungus behaves basically. And the examples of such kind of Psychomycetes includes muco, rhizophus, which is a typical bread mold, and albigo, which is a parasitic fungus which grows on a mustard. Okay, so now you actually have to be sort of more focused and attentive, and you actually need to remember this name. So if tomorrow someone asks you a question, which fungus causes or known as a bread mold or causes a can grow on a bread, you should be able to know the answer. It's rhizophus, which is a parasitic fungus growing on mustard. You should be able to tell it's albigo. So थोड़ा सा अभी तुम लोग को याद रखना पड़ेगा और ठीक से पढ़ना पड़ेगा. So don't behave like कि ये सब नहीं आएगा, especially नीट वाले थोड़ा ध्यान से देखो. Okay. Then the second group comes, that is the Ascomycetes. These are also called as sac fungi. Okay, so you have to keep this in mind. Psychomycetes, algal fungi, Ascomycetes, sac fungi. इसके आगे आएगा Mesodiomyces, which also called as club fungi, और उसके आगे आता है Deuteromyces, which called as imperfect fungi. So उनका common name भी लोगों को याद रखना है कि क्या बोलते हैं. So why sac fungi? Because these actually have a sac-like structure जहाँ पे वो लोग अपना spores जमा करके रखते हैं. Okay, so these are mostly multicellular. However, there is one organism which belongs to Ascomycetes, that is yeast, which is a unicellular structure. So this is a typical structure of Saccharomyces. So this is the microscopic image, and you can see spherical, small circle structures are there. These all are yeast cells. And यहाँ पे कहीं पे तो I think there should be, I don't know, यहाँ पे if you are able to see my cursor, यहाँ पे you can see the small one thing is coming out from the bigger one. That is the way the budding happens. I know so difficult जाएगा, but okay, I will show you the another good image जहाँ पे budding clearly दिख रहा है. But this is how the yeast look like under the typical optical microscope. Okay, in this particular type of fungus, the hyphae are branched and septate. Okay, in case of Psychomycetes, it was aseptate. In this case, it is septate. So you have to again keep in mind comparing the one group with another group. So at last, I will give you differentiate between the Psychomycetes, Ascomycetes, Deuteromyces and Mesodiomyces. तुम लोग को उसमें common points क्या है और different point क्या है वो लिखने पड़ेगा. Okay, and the sac fungi can be decomposers. That's what all the fungi are mostly. They can be also parasite. Yeah, again, most of the fungi are parasite in nature, or they can be coprophilous. Now, coprophilous, new term, I understand. So, coprophilous is the fungus that actually grows on a dung or a animal waste. Okay. Now, why they are growing on in a dung? Because what happens? This coprophilous fungi, they produce their spores. The spores generally present on a grass and the other plant structures. जब भी कोई भी हर्बिवोरस एनिमल लाइक लेट्स से काऊ और बफेलो वो लोग खाने के लिए जाते हैं, वो लोग ग्रास खा लेते हैं. The time they eat the grass, they also eat up the spores, right? तो अभी spores तो मेरी they can survive the harsh conditions and all, तो वो ऐसे ही उसके digestive tract से पास होके finally it moves out from the animal's body via excretion. और जैसे ही वो excretion से through via बाहर आता है, it gets some favorable condition, it will start growing, and then the dung is the one which actually provides the most favorable condition. That's why they are called as a coprophilous organisms. Okay, so they can be decomposers, parasites, or coprophils. Okay, and the example of this type of ascomatic fungi is Aspergillus niger, very commonly known. Okay, so the Aspergillus niger is of very much importance from a commercial point of view. There are some acids and all which are organic acids basically which are produced commercially is because of the fermentation by Aspergillus niger. Then there is the penicillium, as I mentioned, it is giving us the antibiotic penicillin. Then there is other examples like claviceps and Pneumospora. And unicellular means Saccharomyces cerevisiae. So in this group also of Ascomycetes, there are few like morels and truffles which are actually edible. So they can be eaten up by the normal people. There are no harmful effects as such. And there is another example of like Neurospora classa, which is one of the very well studied fungus, I would say, and it is actually useful in a genetic and biochemical studies. So मतलब इन लोगों ने इसको as a biological model use किया है, test animal use किया है to study different genetic and biochemical processes. Okay, so the diagrams, जो pictures जो तुम लोग को ये slide पर दिख रहा है, the first one is the Aspergillus niger, second one is the morus, and the third one is the penicillin. So the plate you see, that's how the fungus grows on a plate. अगर किसी को lab में कुछ काम करना है तो हम लोग जब भी कुछ lab में काम करते हैं and we are growing them on this particular kind of plate. तो यहाँ पर जो yellow color का दिख रहा है background plate का, that is nothing but the food, which is called as media in the biological terms. So this is nothing but the media which provide then all the food or nutrition required for the growth of the particular fungus or a bacteria. Okay, so these are the typical explanation about the Ascomycetes. Then the next one comes about Mesodiomyces. So one thing I like about this particular chapter is like they are not going anything in much details. I'm trying to tell you few things in detail because it's good to know. But textbook में उन्होंने बहुत briefly explain किया है. I think उनका only intention at this moment to introduce you to this new terms. तुम लोग को उसको सिर्फ introduce कराना है कि हाँ Ascomycetes क्या है, Mesodiomyces क्या है, and not to have a very deep knowledge about any of this. So which is a good thing. Okay, so जितना दिया है उतना अच्छे से properly पढ़ो and try to understand. Just don't be like किया और भूल गया kind of thing. नहीं. Try to keep this in mind. Okay, the next type of fungus is Mesodiomyces. Okay, so they are commonly known as the club fungi. Okay, and it mainly includes mushrooms. So सब जब भी हम लोग mushroom देखते हैं दिमाग में क्या आना चाहिए? It belongs to Mesodiomyces. Okay, they have a branch and a septate hyphae. Examples: agaricus, bracket fungi, Ustilago, Uxinia, etc. Uxinia का तुम लोगों को मैंने already एक image दिखाया था, how it forms the rust. Uxinia graminis forms the rust. Ustilago, it looks very weird. The third one is जो कौन का यहाँ पर दिख रहा है, ये जो white layer उसके ऊपर form, मतलब ऐसा सूदी layer form करता है. It's like kind of layer structure fungus का, but वो बहुत गंदा दिखता है. So it is nothing but a Ustilago, which is a pathogenic fungi. This is the Gonoderma. Okay, I forgot to mention the name here. So the bracket fungi जो मैंने लिखा है, that is nothing but a Gonoderma. It is kind of edible. Okay, and then agaricus, mushrooms, which is also a edible type of fungus. Then the last type of this particular group or kingdom of fungi is a Deuteromyces. Okay, so why this particular group is formed is like there are few fungal species which does not belong to Ascomycetes, Mesodiomyces, Psychomycetes. Naming of it never. So for such kind of fungal species, we have this particular group known as Deuteromyces, which is known as imperfect fungi. Okay, and they actually known to reproduce only asexually. There is no sexual kind of reproduction, so only asexually they can produce. And the examples is Alternaria and Coleotrichum. Now Alternaria, as far as I know, it belongs to Ascomycetes, but I don't know यहाँ पे इन लोगों ने Deuteromyces में क्यों दिया है, but okay, Deuteromyces में दिया है तो Deuteromyces में पढ़ेंगे. It is also a kind of plant pathogen, and it is also kind of a fungal species which is known to cause problems in a human beings as well. So Alternaria actually had shown to cause asthma-like problems, respiratory issues in human beings. However, Coleotrichum is a fungal species belonging to Deuteromyces. You will see this kind of spots in vegetables and all, so that is because of the Coleotrichum. However, ये तो सबने देखा रहेगा. There are multiple common plants मतलब यहाँ पे ऐसे spots दिख जाते हैं, and this spots are because of the Alternaria. However, in case of Coleotrichum, it's not always kind of pathogenic. However, it can also form a symbiotic relationship with multiple plants. So it is a phytosymbiont as well as phytopathogen. Whenever the word phyto comes, it means plant. Symbiont मतलब it can form a symbiotic relationship जहाँ पे both pathogen and plant is having some kind of benefits. And phytopathogen मतलब pathogen मतलब phyto मतलब plant, pathogen मतलब a harmful agent. जहाँ पे the fungal species or any agent is actually harming the particular plant. Okay, so with this we actually have finished the kingdom kingdom fungi, which is one of the biggest kingdom in this particular chapter. So agar doubts about kingdom fungi, please raise your hand, or you can just unmute and ask so that we can discuss. After that, there includes two more kingdoms, that is kingdom Plantae and Animalia, of which we are not going to discuss anything in detail because you have a separate chapters on both. So very briefly, we will discuss about Plantae and Animalia, and then we will move towards something known as cellular organisms like viruses and viruses. Okay, so I am hoping that in next class, maybe if we get enough time, then we will finish up this chapter, or else we will require one more lecture, like tomorrow and then 1+ kind of thing. So if you are having any doubts, try to read and come with your doubts in tomorrow's or uski baad